Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host, Paul, joined by, I don't know who this guy is, but he came in off the street. We thought we'd give him the opportunity. Ryan Airy, apparently he's called. I've never heard of him. But we're here to talk about Star Wars. Ryan, from what I've heard, you are the biggest Star Wars shill in the galaxy. And I just kind of wanted to bring you on to discuss the things that have happened recently in terms of the marketing for Mando and where you see the franchise as being at the moment. Tell us about yourself.
Well, before I get started, Paul, I want to say thanks for having me on, and I hope all of you remember to renew your Disney Plus subscriptions right away. Lots of great more Star Wars content coming at us from all directions. It's a great time to be a fan of Star Wars owned by Disney LLC. Okay, so we were expecting, like with the Super Bowl, we're always like, okay, well, it's our Super Bowl. We got trailers coming out. So I was expecting a Mando and Grogu and Mandalorian trailer. Terrible title, by the way. It should be Grogu and the Mandalorian. So we were expecting that, and instead we got this parody of the Budweiser Clydesdales. Now, when I was watching it, I didn't realize at first I was like, it registered, okay, this is like the Clydesdale ad and Sam Elliott's narrating, but I thought it was like trailer footage, and I don't think it is anymore. So I tweeted, This is a new low, and I'm kind of talking to people after, I guess it's a joke and it's the point, but I'm like, what part, who's this for? What part of the I don't know anymore. The Mandalorian used to be such a straightforward show. It's this bounty hunter, and he's got this cute little guy, and they go on adventures. And then it got bogged down in continuity. And then from what I hear, the decision to turn this into a movie was Bob Iger. I think when Bob Iger came back, he was like, look, we got to make money. We don't make it. We got to turn this. It's our biggest franchise, turn it into a movie. And I don't think anyone over there wanted to do it. And it's kind of showing by the marketing so far.
I can understand why Bob Iger comes in, and the big criticism that's levied towards Star Wars, especially at the moment, is that it's kind of became a streaming show. Like, they were obviously dominated the movies for decades and decades, and Star Wars was the biggest blockbuster out there. And then they did Mando, and then they did more and more streaming shows and didn't release a movie. So it kind of, perceptions changed to where it's like, well, Star Wars lives on Disney Plus now. Star Wars has the potential to make billions. It's made billions in the past. And as Bob Iger coming in, I can totally understand why you'd be like, we need to start making films again. Now, does that mean take Mandalorian season 4 and condense it down and turn it into a film? Don't know if that's the strategy, but I can imagine he was like, what have we got? Kathleen Kennedy, what have you announced that we're actually making? I am actually just watching Andor at the moment. I've been going through this. I'm up to episode 5 on the Steelbook. I'm a bit annoyed, Ryan. I'm a bit annoyed, right? Because episode 2, something's happened with the disc, and I can look after these discs a lot, mate. I will take them out, but it's broken, and I went to reorder it so I can watch it, because I won't watch it on Disney Plus, mate. Fuck you, Disney Plus. And it's like £150 to buy it again now, so I'm a bit annoyed by that. But I think shows like that, perfect for what it is.
Physical media, man. You roll the dice.
Yeah, but Andor, fantastic. Slow burn, gradual storytelling, can totally see why you want to do that. I feel like Mando already lives in this place of being a streaming show, and I don't know if it's necessarily going to be something from what we've seen so far in the trailers that's really selling it like, no, this is a movie that's a massive step up from the show. And I think the big criticism, especially around that first trailer, was that this just looks like a Disney Plus show. What is different about this that's going to make it special and worth going to the cinema for? And I also think in general, the problem with the marketing in a vacuum, don't think this advert on its own, or this promotion, which is what it is, it's promoting the movie, on its own, I don't think it's bad. Had we had an amazing first trailer that was incredible, blew everyone's minds, everyone was on a high from it, and then we came and got this, we'd be like, oh, did you see what they did? Because that's a really good promotion. But that first trailer was so shit and bad that it's like, what the fuck are you doing that this is your second thing that we're seeing as fans?
You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember when Attack of the Clones came out on DVD? They did this commercial where it was like, Huda Man, Yoda Man. Or the Energizer Bunny Darth Vader commercial. Like, that's what it is. It's not really a promotion for a big screen IMAX adventure we're all pumped about that tugs on the heartstrings, and it's not trying to be that. Let's just imagine that this was all planned out a little bit better, right? Let's say Mandalorian season 2 ends, and then they say, all right, we're doing a movie, right?
Yeah,
and maybe the movie is where Yeah, exactly. And hindsight's 2020 and COVID and all that stuff was happening then. But like, let's even say that happens and the book of Boba Fett comes out and it doesn't have the reunion between Grogu and all that stuff is in the movie, right? That would have made sense. And maybe the book of Boba Fett is just some cool gangster bounty hunter shit. And then Mando meets Boba Fett. And then the movie is him. Like that would have made sense because it would have built momentum. But what happened is season 3, I like it. I mean, it's hard for me to not like a story. I even like the book of Boba
Disney
Fett,
show.
but not. I don't think the book of Boba Fett's good, but it's Star Wars, so I can watch it. But man, season 3 really turned off so many people. So you're going to ride the non-momentum from that into a bad trailer, then into a Budweiser Clydesdale thing, which,
Yeah.
by the way, is also just member berries. Like the fact that I'm watching a bunch of tauntauns pull a sled, and I get it's a Western, it's a wagon train and all that stuff, but like, there's nothing new there. It's just more, it's sort of like in the first episode of The Mandalorian, it was like, oh, cool. Well, there's Salacious Crumb. There's his species. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. There's, all of these things, but there's also some new stuff. And I don't know. I don't know what the movie's about. It's hard to get excited about it when the whole premise is, hey, these guys, big screen, when people already were kind of like, oh, I didn't like season 3 that much,
Yeah. Yeah. I think this would have been perfect if it was this fun advert and then at the end, go to the internet now, go to YouTube and watch
Exactly.
trailer 2. Watch trailer 2. Instead, we had that trailer leaked years ago. I think it was about 2 years ago the first trailer was leaked. And then they waited for a year and then just released that trailer online. And
Same
it's
one.
almost like, yeah, what are you doing? Like the movie comes out in May and all we've seen
Well,
is like a bad trailer leak, then released online a year later, and then this tauntaun footage. They should have just been like, look, we need to knock it out the park, guys. People aren't feeling that first trailer. We do this little fun Budweiser callback, go to trailer 2. We've paid the best trailer editor experts in the world. They've brought this out and we're gonna fucking kill it.
maybe they did pay them, and that's what the first trailer was. You got to think too, like Lucasfilm's in a weird point right now because I love Kathleen Kennedy's exit interview where she was like, "Oh, you like the Taika Waititi, James Mangold, Hunt for Ben Solo? So do I. Disney wouldn't let me do it, right?"
Yeah.
So now we're at this weird transition point. You saw the same thing with Paramount when they were being sold. It was like, well, they couldn't really greenlight any Star Trek shows because they were waiting to see what management would do, right? So that's happening now, and obviously Filoni is involved, I'm guessing, with the movie. I think it's more of a Favreau joint. So I'm not sure with him and then with Josh D'Amaro becoming CEO of Disney and with the new chief creative officer, whose name I can't remember, with them coming in, it could be totally different. They might actually say, look, yeah, we got to shake this up. We got to do some cool stuff for the fan base. What I think is unfortunate is if this movie bombs, like Daniel RPK said, he doesn't think that there will be, from based on what he's heard, that we won't get more Mandalorian. Like it's
Oh,
sort of
really?
hit or miss.
Yeah.
Either if this bombs, they go, okay, well, people are done with that. This is a show that should run for 20 years. This is a show that can literally outlive every cast member. We could
Yeah.
follow them all through the rise of the First Order and beyond. You got a guy in a mask and you got a puppet who famously ages really slowly. It really doesn't even have to happen in real time. Like it blows my mind. I would just have left this the flagship show. Everything else could have been a movie, right? Ahsoka's plotline probably could have been condensed into a decent movie. Book of Boba Fett could have been a movie. Obi-Wan should have been a movie, right? But The Mandalorian is built in chapters. It is built to be a show. And years ago, when they announced they were doing this movie, I was pissed off about it because it's pretty obvious it's there to make money and they're not doing the creative service.
Yeah. No, I think you're completely right. I don't know why they haven't thought about this as well, because like you said, there's no reason for them to basically make this chronological. You can have it going for years and years and years. Yes, I think Star Wars is just in a really weird place. And I find this thing in general when a TV show tries to go to a movie, it's very, very difficult. Like I'm a massive, massive X-Files fan. Grew up watching it all the time. And then when they did the movies, I just wasn't interested in seeing them at all. And I don't know why. And I still haven't seen the second one to this day. The first one I kind of have watched and just I can't remember it at all. And I always find it's difficult to move from one medium to the next and carry it over the audience. And also have it where it doesn't feel like it's just a TV show on the big screen with like when you see animation and they do like a bit of extra shading and shadow around people's faces.
Right.
It's
Well,
kind of that
DuckTales
thing
the movie
where
was great though, but that's probably the best example I've ever seen.
okay.
There was
Bond
even David Lynch
DuckTales.
couldn't do it. Like with Fire Walk with Me, he was trying to do something different from Twin Peaks in like a different setting and prequel and all that, but it was really bad. It didn't, like you're right. The transition doesn't work because you have this story that's a completely different medium. Hell, it's even hard to adapt a novel into a movie, let alone like taking the tropes of a TV show and putting them in. But oddly enough, some of the TV movies work really well. I don't know why that is. Like that Alf
Yeah,
final. I don't know if you caught that back in the late '90s, but that was pretty dope. So, if you want to, can we
that
spend the
was the
rest of this
last
talking about
example.
Alf?
Yeah. But yeah, that's just kind of how I feel at the moment. I'm not confident that this film's going to do well at all. It really just seems to be.
I don't either.
I mean, I know you like season 3. I really started off like enjoying it from the off. I love the whole going to see Bo-Katan. She's laid out all day,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
with
yeah,
the legs.
yeah.
Then that kind of horror episode they have where they go into the caves.
That was
Where
dope.
I think it fell apart was Jack Black and Lizzo's appearance and the fact that they didn't have a Mandalorian civil war. I think that's what they were setting up. There was lots of
Right.
tensions around who would be the leader of the Mandalorians and stuff like that. And they didn't capitalize on it, and they kind of did it on a technicality where it's like, look, we're all good friends. That's it. That's all good. So yeah, I just
Can I
felt
tell you
that the
where
hype kind of was killed after that as well.
I agree. I agree. And that's what I meant. Like after season 2, when like I think the final season 2 is probably the best season of the show, right? It's got the clearest, like, here's our goal. It ends. It's got all these cool cameos along the way, and the cameos ended up being better than the actual shows. Like the payoff for Ahsoka and Bo-Katan wasn't necessarily done well. There's certain aspects of season 3, like we did a whole video about how it's about them rebuilding the Jewish temple, and it's a biblical story that they're telling, which I think is really cool that they did that, because that's what Star Wars is. It's inspirations from many different things and religions, and the fact that they said, this is like this.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, though, see, the Jack Black Lizzo episode is distracting because it's Jack Black and Lizzo. It feels a little bit like the Star Wars holiday special. That's also the episode, though, where they had to go on this weird hunt, and there was a guy who was still loyal to the separatists and with the droids. And I like all that stuff, right? That was all pretty cool. Where I think it went wrong is it kind of betrayed the principle of the thing. Because whenever you're telling a story, you always start, the best stories, you start with the core idea, right? Star Wars, the first one, was escapism, like everything else George Lucas did back then, right? It's escapism with a bunch of stuff from his childhood tied together. It's every movie you've ever loved in one movie. The core of a Western, which is what The Mandalorian is the hero goes into a place that is uncivilized and then civilizes it, but then the hero cannot enjoy that civilization. They are not a part of it. They do not fit. It's like the ending of Waterworld. It's like the ending of Shane. It's like the ending of Logan. The person is so savage and uncivilized they can't fit. And my kind of problem with the end of The Mandalorian is it's a happy ending. It's like, well, we don't know if we're going to get a season 4. And I don't think The Mandalorian should have ever had that. He shouldn't ever have a patch of land. Because now what they're kind of doing is setting him up to be like Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven. Like William Bonney, this guy who like had a place to live and then he's taken out of it. I think it should have ended with, okay, yes, they get the Darksaber. It's all brought together. But the fact that he's able to give away the Darksaber so easily robs the dramatic tension. It should have been at the end that in giving up the Darksaber, he also has to give up his culture. Like he has to leave them. And he and Grogu cannot be of that tribe anymore. They can probably still be around other Mandalorians, but not. And that's what was so brilliant about the setup of season 3. And then it was resolved really fast. You know what I mean? They kept taking dramatic tension and squandering it. But I personally I like the Dr. Pershing Coruscant episode. I don't mind having a random episode that goes off somewhere else and does it's Star Wars. You know what I mean? But I'm also the guy who liked that episode of Stranger Things season 2. I kind of like seeing side adventures, and they're in comics. They're like one-off issues. For me, those are fun. But that's really, I think that the ending kind of betrayed what it is. And it embraced this idea of the Mandalorian as product. And I think that's really what my problem with the trailer was last night. Like I compared it to Yoda Man at the start of this video, which I will in our live stream too. I guess I'm doing later today. But it's showing like, okay, isn't this a cute, fun gag? We're watching him do the thing and him talk to the Tauntaun. And it's not really telling a story. It's selling a product. At least that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with you with the Dr. Pershing thing. Like one of my favorite episodes of Wonder Man was just the Doorman episode, which was just its own thing. Yeah,
Emmys.
and that's the perfect way to do it. Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I know there's going to be the reaction that there's, this is just a fun thing. For me, it's the issue that everything that we've seen so far has been either let down or lackluster, and I don't think they're quite hitting at the level that they need to, especially with the worry around this film. But you're going to talk about it more in depth on your live stream. Guys, make sure you go over to there next. Ryan is going to do a fantastic fantastic job. He's promising you that. So go check out his live stream. I don't know when this is going up. It might be after the live stream. It might be before, but check that out on Screen Crush. And thank you, Ryan, for joining it. I'm glad that we could finally put this rivalry to the side. It's like the end of the Mandalorian season 3. No one got hurt and everyone feels better for it. So thank you for joining me. I would advise not watching my videos, any of them, for the past 4 years. I would advise not watching them. But yeah, thank you for joining me, and take care. Peace.